Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are having a good day. All right, good morning, good afternoon to you guys. I know some of you are watching this for first period, some of you are watching this for eighth period, so, take that greeting wherever you're at. Now, for homework tonight, you have the Chapter 11, Section 2A worksheet. There's 15 questions. About half the questions you could probably answer from your notes. The rest of the questions you'll have to look up in your iBook. I broke up the Section 2 worksheet into two. All right, so you have Chapter 11, Section 2A tonight. That is due Thursday, and then you'll do 2B later this week. All right, tomorrow you have your activity day, so you're off. Today we're going to continue talking about the Kingdom of England during the High and Late Middle Ages. We're going to talk about a very important historical event in English history. We're going to talk about the Battle of Hastings. We're going to talk about war for control of England, between two powerful people in Western Europe at this time. Okay, so if you can take out your notes where we left off yesterday. A reminder, if you miss anything, you can always pause the video and copy notes or go back and watch it. This video is on my YouTube channel. It's in YouTube, so you can watch it whenever you feel like it. So, let us begin. So, war for control of England came about after the death of King Edward the Confessor. And yesterday we talked about how King Edward the Confessor took back control of England from the Danish Vikings in 1042, and then in 1066, King Edward the Confessor dies without an heir to the throne, and there was a lot of confusion on who is to be king after Edward the Confessor. Before Edward died, according to Norman historians, Normans are a group of Vikings from where's Normandy, France today. King Edward promised the Duke of Normandy, William, Duke of Normandy, that he could take over the Kingdom of England. However, on his deathbed, Edward the Confessor grants the kingdom to Harold Godwinson, who was the head of the leading noble family in England, and was actually more powerful than King Edward the Confessor himself. Okay, and in January 1066, King Edward dies, and Harold Godwinson was proclaimed King Harold II. All right, but a man from Normandy is going to immediately dispute his claim, and that's where war for control of England begins. But just to kind of backtrack a little bit, if you can remember from last chapter, in the 900s, a group of Vikings called the Normans invaded part of France, and their leader Rollo conquered part of western France, which became Normandy today, and Rollo promised to convert to Christianity, which he did. And Rollo eventually has a son, and his son has a son, and that man's name was William. Right? And then in the 1000s, Normandy is ruled by a man named William, who was of Viking origin, but he spoke a dialect of French and grew up in Normandy and was loyal to the French kingdom. And he and other Normans that he ruled over descended from these Scandinavian invaders. And William did have a relationship with Edward the Confessor, a friendship, okay, and William supposedly told his Normans that he was promised the Kingdom of England, okay. So William's going to dispute this claim against Harold Godwinson. All right, it should be a little typo here. All right, it should be Godwinson. All right, you can add that after Godwin. And this is probably one of the biggest battles in English history. On September 28, 1066, William lands in England with his Norman knights on Britain's southeastern coast with thousands of troops and cavalry. and he's going to march to Hastings, where he paused to organize his forces. And on October 13th, 1066, the Battle of Hastings takes place. All right, Harold arrived near Hastings. It wasn't October 13th. It was October 14th. Okay. Harold arrived with his forces, and William leads his forces out to battle, which ended in a decisive victory for William. Okay, William defeats Harold at the Battle of Hastings, and Harold was killed. Supposedly, according to legend, he was shot in the eye, and his forces were destroyed. His siblings were killed, and there was no other Anglo-Saxon heir to the throne. And he is the last Anglo-Saxon king of England, and this battle changes the course of history and established Normans as the rulers of England, which in turn brought a significant cultural transformation. All right, but William's going to march on London. He received the city's submission, and on Christmas Day, 1066, William is crowned King of England. He is the first Norman king. Okay, first Norman king. Okay, and thanks to Norman invasion, French was spoken in English courts for centuries and completely transforms the English language, infusing it with new words. And the name William became very popular in England. This is a fun fact. William is an Old French name composed of dramatic elements. Will means desire, helm meaning protection, and William eventually becomes known in England as William the Conqueror, and by the 1200s it was the most common given name among English men. All right, so William becomes the most common English name, by the 1200s. All right, almost 200 years after William the Conqueror. And William the Conqueror was a very successful king. He at first faced a lot of resistance from Anglo-Saxon leaders. William eventually learned to stop these revolts and control his lands by appointing Norman knights in control, and he set up local officials to try and keep order, and those officials were called sheriffs. All right, the term sheriff we have in our society today, and probably one of William the or William the Conqueror's greatest achievement, which was a very effective order issued by William the Conqueror, is he ordered a census. All right, and it was a great census known as the Doomsday Book. And when you think of Doomsday, you probably think of end of the world. But it was the first census since Roman times, and it was a very detailed census that counted the lands, the people, and even farm animals. How many goat there were in his kingdom, how many sheep, how many horses, how many cows, how many chickens. Okay, and William the Conqueror his kingdom includes land in England and also Normandy. Normandy is part of his kingdom because that's where he came from. And the Anglo-Saxon language is changed. You see some French words added to the English language, and that shapes the English that we speak today. All right, so the Doomsday Book is probably his most notable achievement. You can see an image of it there. It does not mean it's not a book about the end of the world. It's a book on a very detailed census that William the Conqueror ordered, all right, just because he wanted to know what was in his kingdom. All right, this is the first census in England since Roman times. All right, William the Conqueror is the first Norman king. Eventually he dies in 1087, and his son William Rufus became William II and was the second Norman king of England. If you have any questions on any of these two slides, you can ask them in the video in the conference on Thursday. All right, tomorrow's your activity day, so enjoy your activities. This is the last slide for today. There's a worksheet that I put in Schoology for you guys to complete for homework. If you want to get started on that, by all means, go for it. All right, and any questions on the Battle of Hastings or William the Conqueror, I'd be happy to take on Thursday. So this is it for today. Thank you everyone for your attention, and enjoy the rest of your day and your classes. Bye.